Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on, help understand best practice and big picture, and I figure we could just touch briefly on Bitcoin dominance, kind of see essentially what that's looking like and help you understand, how that factors in. More importantly, if you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I just hope that you can learn something here today. My goal is to help you become a better trader. So CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below if you want to improve on your current skill set. I have a lot of folks actually migrating over based on the simple fact that they're trying to learn as much as they can right now during this downtime, and that's what I recommend you do as well. Try not to overtrade in a bear market. It's important to pick your battles and to use appropriate risk tolerance. Those are all things that I cover. Again, I have a Trading Academy community and Signal group, link in the description below. Check that out in your own time. So here's going on, what's the deal with Bitcoin dominance? So just to kind of touch on this here, so you generally understand the concept. When Bitcoin dominance goes up, it typically implies that when we have, this a lot of money's coming into Bitcoin is basically what it boils down to, right? Because recently we saw this happen, of course, with the increase in value. And then, of course, recently we saw a significant decline. So what this really is just telling us is that Bitcoin dominance is pretty much indicating that with the alts being green here today and Bitcoin dominance coming down, it essentially implies that money's coming away from Bitcoin and potentially going into altcoins. Now, altcoins got very, very hammered recently, so a lot of money came away from altcoins, essentially lowering the amount of liquidity and or trading volume in general. Now that we've kind of hit this potential little support level at 20,000, again, potential is a key word here, we can see Bitcoin dominance coming down based on the simple fact that altcoins are starting to absorb some of that capitalization. Okay, so again, it doesn't necessarily tell us that the sky is falling. It just really kind of tells us that, hey, we're in a situation where Bitcoin dominance is coming down and the price of Bitcoin is staying the same. That essentially is telling us that more Bitcoin is being sold than it is being bought right now. That's the general concept. All right, so taking a look here at Bitcoin one day. Let's go ahead and start with the monthly, of course, kind of reiterate the obvious, just so you know, in case you had missed this previously. We're below, tentatively, the 50-day SIP moving average on the monthly. Now, that's not a bad thing, of course, but it would be bad if the month closes, and we're not quite there yet. We got about 7-8 days, roughly, before this month is ended. So technically, this hasn't happened yet, but in Bitcoin's history, it's never fallen below the 50-day SMA as far as a closure. Okay, it's wicked down below, of course, which was back here. If you look at this right here, that was COVID. But anytime previous, you can see the price action always stays above. So that does imply if we were to break below and close below, or continue to close below, maintain the current price point, then we're going to probably be facing a price action underneath that for a little longer. Not to say it's going to just specifically hold it in place, but it's never a great sign when you have a price action closing below the 50 on the monthly. All right, looking at the weekly, we can kind of see here, of course, with the weekly time frame that we're well below the 200-day SIP moving average. It's trending right around 22,500. So again, a closure above 22.5 this week and or this month would be very, very beneficial. A closure below, just say 20,000, would probably imply further downside. Okay, so again, there's a lot of different schools of thought here, but we're getting closer to the bottom. Please continue to dollar cost average, but on the same accord, be cautious and careful in how much you invest because it could come lower, right? Me personally, I just have an automatic withdrawal of $20 a day into Bitcoin and Ethereum. I know it sounds kind of small and trivial, but if we're down here for another 2, 3, 4 months, which is potentially expected, then it's going to give me a nice little average price lower, right? That's the concept. So anyways, kind of just something to think about there. But looking at the daily, we can just confirm, of course, that the 50-day SMA is working its way down concurrent with this trend line. This trend line is essentially still our friend in the sense of understanding that we're still in a downtrend. So again, if the price action goes sideways for a little while here, which I expect, we're probably going to be range bound between 20 and just say 24,000 as a rough estimate, then we should expect to see the price action inevitably break above. Right? We just need to be able to maintain some price sideways. In fact, I tried to do this recently and got rejected. So if we see a very similar behavior, we could expect further downside down to about 14 or even 13,000 range. Okay, but I think we're going to probably hold this range for a little while, based on the fact that there's less volatility in the last couple of days than we've seen in obviously the last full week. And as you can kind of see, when the price gets range bound and it kind of gets stuck in a certain range, it has a tendency of being less dramatic. Okay, So these kind of things aren't going to be happening all the time. We should expect the price action to kind of honor and hold within these lines. Now, not to say 20,000 is the only support level. We have other supports as well, right around 18,000. Actually, no, 19,000 is the other. So 19,000 to 24,000 could be the range that we're going to see over the next few weeks. This seems like it's kind of shaping up for that. And then, of course, once we come to this pivotal moment where the price action is going to test, just say the 50-day SMA right around here, and or this descending trend line, that would be the case in point where we have that make or break moment. But coincidentally, that does put us about a month, almost 2 months down the road, and that should be enough time for us to average ourselves out above the 50-day SMA on the monthly. Again, those are all positive things that could factor in. But the bottom line, we're still in a downtrend. There's no other way around it. Okay. So again, just wrap your head around that, and just continue to add to your position as much as you can. It's really what I'm doing right now. If you stock up in the bear market, the bull market is going to be tremendously better for you. Trust me. And again, I say this a lot, but millionaires are not made in their first bull run. They're made in their second bull run because they learn from their mistakes, as well as the fact that they add to their position on the way down. It's just kind of the bottom line. Okay, so again, always best to invest in a bear market if possible. Looking here at Bitcoin, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the 4 hour and kind of see. So first of all, we had a kind of a higher high effectively on the 21st. So that was 2 days ago. Now we're making lower highs for the moment. Okay, so unless this next momentous trend can get up above about 21,400, we probably are not going to see anything much further. We could very well see the price get rejected out here at about 21,000 as we saw already, and the price continue to work its way perhaps even down further. Okay. Again, there's no guarantees there, so the support level here at 20,000 seems to be holding very strong. That 19,800 range is, anytime the price comes down, it bounces right off of it. It's happened a few times so far already. So that could really imply that we're in pretty good shape there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a guarantee, right? Because again, the more often you test the support level, the more likely it is to break. So we could very well see that. The bottom line here is though that we're probably going to be stuck in a range, just say between 20 and 22,000 as a round number, just to kind of give you perspective on the fact that we might continue to see some behavior in this area. Again, with the amount of volume kind of tapering off, so to speak, from the weekend, that is kind of a good sign in the sense that we should expect a little bit of calmer waters in the near future versus, these choppy, crazy scenarios. Now, granted, keep in mind this weekend, we have a green week. The weekend can be red, okay? So it's a lot of times it's kind of a reversal in that sense. So just be mindful. Obviously, we're not there yet. We'll talk about that more in my weekend review, but I would just say that at this point, expect the unexpected. But I would say that we are establishing, lower lows and lower highs. So that should continue to the downside. It just kind of feels like it wants to do that. All right, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a retest of 20,000 in the immediate future. That's probably a pretty strong likelihood. To touch on one thing too, just kind of give you a heads up, like I was able to mention this yesterday if you caught my video, where you have a double doji candle pattern, usually implies a red day to follow. We did have that red day yesterday. So it was kind of nice to kind of see that candlestick pattern happen because those are fairly successful. I think it was like 60-40, 70-30 as an odds of success. It's maybe even slightly higher if I'm not mistaken, but generally speaking here, it's important to pay attention to those things. And today, if we were to close just say a little bit lower, it could imply a further downside because again, we got this gravestone type of candle. It's kind of a morning star gravestone. If we close something similar to that here, that could imply we're going to see a little bit lower over the weekend. Okay, so it is feeling like the weekend's going to shape up to be a decrease in value, but we'll definitely see here soon. Taking a look at let's look at the standard stuff down below. We're trending really close to 50 on the RSI, so that doesn't matter too much because it doesn't really imply that we have a strong support or resistance level. This happens in range trades. So when the price is kind of stuck in a range, you can expect the RSI to behave that way. Same with the MACD as well. There's no true convergence or divergence really, so it doesn't really matter or factor in. Okay. So taking a look here, of course, at We're going to look at TD sequential and see we hit an 8 here recently to the downside and we're back up to a 4. So when we're down to an 8 and then up to a 4, there's a great chance that we're going to see perhaps further continuation of the upside here and retest 21,000. Once again, when I say great chance, it's not necessarily 100%, because anytime you come up to a 9, you get a reset and come back down to an 8. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hit another 9 or an 8 again, right? So this could be losing momentum, essentially, based on the fact that it, again, is kind of simply establishes a lower high. So it's not great. I also don't love the fact that the price got rejected right at 20,800. It's kind of one of those key level resistances there based on Fibonacci retracement. So all in all, not looking fantastic here. The simple moving averages are starting to average out, of course, but the 200's still well enough behind. So the 200 is probably the most impactful one on the 4 hour. But if you were to see, just say the 50 and the 20, they're kind of merging together. So it doesn't really tell us too much in that sense, just based on the simple fact that they're kind of contradicting each other. And again, we're range bound for the moment between 20 and 22, or just general range 19 to 24. Okay, so that said, if we're here right now on the 1 hour, we want to go ahead and take a quick look at TD sequential and kind of see. We came down past a 9 overtime, got up to a 6, hit a reset, down to a 4, up to a 6 again, and down to a 5. So the last 24 to 48 hours have been basically 5 or 6 hours of continuation in one direction or the other, and then a reversal. Okay, so we're about 5 hours down here. So the likelihood, I would say, is higher for the price to bounce off this Fibonacci retracement level and come up to maybe 21,000. Again, no guarantees on that, because honestly, it's not giving us a tremendous amount of indications here in the overall sense of where it wants to go. The one indication that we are seeing that's very consistent is the bearish overall trend in the larger time frames. So not to say that Bitcoin can't rally, but the fear and greed index is at 11 right now, and it doesn't make any sense for the price to want to recover, especially considering hyperinflation and a lot of other things in the world. U.S. in particular too. We have a lot of stuff going on. So generally speaking, that's kind of where we're at there for the moment. Let's take a quick peek at the 15 and see. We're below the volume weighted average price here for today. So really just kind of implying that we don't have much of a leg to stand on here at this point. So again, we got a lot of conflicting information. Let's take a look at the 1 hour as well. And we're below the cloud too. Pretty much got rejected by the cloud. So you can see that pretty stark reality there. Price will not pass go here at 20,700. So I would say the likelihood of the price coming down from here is probably greater based on this sentiment alone, because this is my favorite indicator. I do think it's probably the most consistent. And the fact that we're underneath the cloud and we haven't broke above doesn't necessarily mean you want to take a short position, but it doesn't imply you want to take a long, right? So definitely wait for confirmation. And once again, confirmation is at least 2 or 3 candlesticks closing above the cloud. That's a good step in the right direction. If you had taken, just say, that same school of thought recently, you would have been in profit at one point or another. Again, as soon as you take entry above the cloud, price continues higher, and that's just kind of a natural progression of how things are supposed to work. Because again, it's kind of a conservative indicator. But really, it's kind of giving us conflicting information right now, but confirming mostly that a long position is not viable until the price breaks back above. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at there. I mean, I would just say, if I were to give a random guess right now, based on what we've seen here so far, the price should continue lower today to retest 20,000, possibly lose that, test 19,000 once more, and then we'll see at that point, of course, where we're at. But I think we're more likely in store for some further downside here. And it's just one of those things where we got to kind of wait out and try to be a little patient. So I highly recommend you don't just jump in and kind of hope for the best. At this point, I think sometimes no position is a good position. Right? Again, just a thought process there. I like to entertain different ideas, and to me, a conservative approach just makes the most sense, considering the circumstances are not like phenomenal. Okay. So either way, you do want to become a better trader. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I look forward to working with you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in tomorrow's video.